movie that deals with one of the realities of the pandemic, saying goodbye like never before. Cody is standing by with one of the stars.
That's right, everybody. It's Rae Dawn Chong.
Good morning.
Rae, before we get started with the business at hand, I've got to tell you, your father, Tommy, taught me to salsa dance and dip me one time. I'm sure he talked to you about it.
No, but wow, he's a good dancer.
He is a great dancer. Yeah, he just gave me a dip and everything. It was great. Okay, let's talk about this movie. This is some heavy stuff, but it's the times we're living in.
Yeah. Well, what did you think of it? Did you see it?
I've only seen a little bit of it. They sent me a clip, and I was like, whoa, this is heavy stuff.
Yeah, I felt really lucky, though, that they cast me, and it was a... Danny Houston I've known for decades, and Eric Barrett, one of the producers, is a dear friend. So I felt honored to be able to be in a movie with Nicole Ari Parker and just everybody. It was really, it's a difficult subject and we need to talk about it. And everybody during the COVID plague and pandemic that we're still in a way, lost something.
Mm-hmm.
Lost a lot of momentum, lost family members. I mean, I think that we're in a collective trauma right now as a country. So, yeah.
I feel you. I feel you. And I can feel the passion, too, when you're talking about this. Let's talk a bit about the process of how they did this, because we're talking about, like Zoom meetings and stuff, but we're saying people couldn't say goodbye, so you'd have to do it through technology, and then you guys had to use said technology.
Yeah, I was really impressed with the director and the idea of it. I was a little grumpy because I wanted to have a bigger role. And I have such a small role in this movie, but it's not the size of the role. It's what you do with it.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys are exhausted with Zoom. There's things I like about Zoom because it's convenient, but I've noticed, and I'm sure you all in your studio feel the same way, there's a disconnect in terms of the human connection. And like you can't smell a person, you can't feel a person, and there's a lot to be said about the one-on-one connection or in a group. So doing the film by Zoom was interesting, but it doesn't replace in-person acting, and I prefer it to be in person. And yeah, but look at her, she's so gorgeous.
Really, she really
Nicole
is
Ari
gorgeous.
Parker, she's so beautiful.
Real quick before you go, the Chris Pratt story. You're responsible for Chris Pratt. Could you tell the people at home real quick how that happened?
I was directing a film that I had written, and I needed a young stud. And all of the agents in town wouldn't let me anywhere near their young actors, and probably for good reason, because our film had some technical issues. But I will say that a friend of mine, I was in the middle of a breakup, and a friend of mine said, come to Maui. So I went to Maui, and then he said, let's go to this restaurant. I like this particular dish, and I did not want to go. And I walked into the restaurant, and this young beauty walked up to me and literally said, put me in a movie. And it was Chris. And the thing that was perfect about it was not only the timing, but I needed somebody who was young and articulate and could do this, but he'd never done anything. And I asked him if he had acted, and he listed a bunch of high school stuff. But I had this feeling about him. There was something that reminded me of a young Matt Dillon, but blonde. And I thought, I wonder. So I gave him a script. I dropped off a script to the restaurant because I think he was living in a van. And he showed up, and I had a bunch of kids in Maui come to the reading. And he showed up. He was not only off book for his part, but he was off book for the whole movie. He had memorized the script. And he was so good and so enthusiastic. I felt like it was a God shot.
Yeah.
And then I was working on a series in Canada. So I flew him to Los Angeles. And then for the next 3.5 years, all of my friends took over. We all sort of tag teamed in terms of inspiring and helping him and putting him up and making sure he had clothing. So it was the McLaren family. It was Doug and Michelle and Lauren. It was Chris Burton, who also, so I can't take full credit for the mentoring of Chris Pratt. And also he's very talented, so it was pretty easy.
That is an amazing story. Thanks for sharing that with us. I really appreciate it because I always wanted to hear that. All right, stick around. We got more in the big show, but make sure you see this impressive film. Check it out.
Thank you.
Stick around. Bye.